Hello, my name's Ian Seeger from Pilot Career News. On the 6th and 7th of November, we held our very first virtual edition of Pilot Careers Live. We streamed over 30 different seminars with 60 speakers. There were 2 days packed full of great information. Of course, we recorded everything, and you're about to watch one of the videos from the event. Before you do, I just want to thank our sponsors, Bose, Alsim, Entro, and of course Pulis. Without them and without the exhibitors, it wouldn't be possible. The exhibitor pages are still live, so feel free to head on over there, go to www.pilotcareerslive.com and click through to the exhibitors. There's loads of information, loads of downloads, all sorts of great stuff there for you. Anyway, enjoy the video, and if you find it useful, really appreciate it if you click subscribe on our YouTube channel. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Anyway, as I say, back to our next session. Anthony Petteford is a fairly well-known industry guru, as we call him. He has a distinguished background in the world of airline pilot training, having previously held senior leadership roles at both Oxford Aviation Academy, now CAE, and CTC Aviation, now L3 Harris. He's now Managing Director of VA Airline Training. Anthony is well known for his personal commitment to helping aspiring pilots achieve their goal of airline employment, whether it be through the integrated or increasingly popular modular route. He has pioneered change in the industry, having led the team who delivered the first UK MPL, championing the importance of the cadet customer alongside the airline customer, and more recently helping VA be the first ATO to be the UK CAA and EASA approved to deliver APS MCC. Official training partners for Ryanair's mentor programme, and launched the newly mandated multi-pilot advanced UPRT course. Anthony is perfectly placed to share his knowledge and give balanced, unbiased advice to aspiring pilots and their parents and sponsors, whilst researching training and career options in order for you to make an informed decision about your next steps. Over to you, AP.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. After having known you for 20 years, I would expect nothing less, but thank you again. Thank you also to Ian. Ian, I know that you, looking through this illustrious list of people speaking today, someone needed to be the village idiot. And so I looked through the list and thought, oh, I wonder who the village idiot is. Then I concluded that that must be me. So I'm going to do my very best to try and unravel some of the mysteries about our industry, and do so in a very customer-oriented way. So, a little bit of personal background. Despite my youthful good looks, 33 was my age when I took the helm of what was then the Oxford Air Training School. I'm now 58, so doing the maths, and we need to be good at maths if we're wanting to be a pilot. 25 years have gone by, 10,000 airline pilots have passed through our training organisations all over the world, and for my sins, is probably why I've got so little hair left, 11 different aviation regulators. But just 3 amazing ATOs, Oxford, CTC, and VA. I could talk, I think, forever about the omnipresent subject of integrated MPL versus modular, and I think we'd be here as long as since we've been waiting since the Wright brothers took flight in 1903. And my esteemed industry colleagues, I feel, are far better and smarter and better placed, I think, to talk about all the technicalities of courses and regulation. But KB gave a clear message earlier about an ever-increasing pathway, and I will just nail my colours to the mast, is I trained modular. And I achieved 4 things that were joyful as a part of having gone that way. Number 1, I trained my best friend how to fly 28 years ago. And since that time, I've had 28 years of sheer joy, punctuated by moments of sheer terror, teaching people how to fly. And if ever I could recommend a profession in life, and that's teaching others, without doubt, it's terrific. I've had the privilege of being able to fly both the 320 and the 757. As I mentioned earlier, I've been the boss of 3 well-respected flight schools. And finally, I've traveled all around the world, racked up 2 million avios, none of which I've even spent yet. So there are some real benefits in many forms be working in this industry. And I think the message generally about aviation is it can be whatever you want it to be. And I think for those of you that are about to enter our profession, the young tender ages, literally the sky is no longer the limit. For those of you who are contemplating aviation going forwards, despite some of the challenges that we face en route as we go through our industry. Now, the lovely KB asked me to talk about planning. I'll say it again, I have to talk about planning pilot training. And to be candid, this is completely counterintuitive to our industry. There are times when I wonder whether we could even plan next week, let alone entire career profiles. But nonetheless, despite probably KB being on her fourth bottle of wine, asking me to make this a topic for today, I'm going to do my very best. And interestingly in aviation, despite our best endeavours, every plan we seem to make gets wrecked by some world event crisis, which causes us to rethink the plan. However, every cloud has a silver lining, and if you're good at thinking on your feet, you'll make a great airline pilot without any doubt. And the great thing about aviation is we always find a way to sort it out. So when you're up there and things aren't going quite according to plan, it's up to us, that last line of defense, to get it sorted out. So that innovative mind is one that we look for in aviation. However, I'm going to give it a go. All right, so I'm going to sort of put my business hat on and think, how would I tackle a project? And we always start every good plan in business with a SWOT analysis. For those of you who don't know what a SWOT analysis, it's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And I'd like to sort of just share with you, if I was sitting in your chair, what sort of SWOT analysis you might like to consider, some pointers if you like. So first of all, the strengths. What would I believe to be the strengths of our industry? First of all, and I don't think there's an industry that can match it, and that's diversity. Diversity within our industry, whether it's people, weather, geography, lifestyle, you will not find a more enriching diversity of a profession in which to enter. It is super. Technology, if you love technology, I've just bought a new EFIS car and I still haven't unraveled the mystery of how all these various things work. Get into an aeroplane and multiply it by 10. And if you love technology, if you love using tools to enable you to achieve an outcome, there's nothing more rewarding than taking an aeroplane down from 33,000 feet all the way down to touchdown and only revving up the engines at about 1,000 feet, everything considered, using technology to achieve that outcome. And without doubt, the profession of airline pilot is still well respected. Many people still think it's one of the best you can possibly enter, and I would attest that it is a well-regarded profession and one that you can hold your head high when you're doing it. What about the weaknesses, though? It's really hard work. 6 sector days, I have to say I got rather bored of doing Dublin 21 times in a row, not even one day, I hasten to add, but certainly it is really, really hard these days. It can be uncertain. You, as I mentioned earlier, enter a profession that certainly goes with the economic climate, and events like we are enduring at the moment represent uncertainty. There is a joke that you're not a proper airline pilot unless you've been made redundant at least once. And there can be some repetition. Clearly, we want to get our customers to a safe destination and do so in a safe and efficient manner. So that inevitably, compared to the days of old, there is some repetition. What about opportunities? It's competency-based industry. If you can do it and you're good at doing it and you're safe at doing it, you will progress irrespective of other things which may hold people back in other professions. So very much, it's one where you can get on quickly and do well. The possible exciting roles that come out of being an airline pilot. So if you look at the diversity, once again, of all the different exciting things you can do within an airline, without doubt, pilots do get their hands on some really exciting stuff, as well as the flying roles. And when you come towards the latter end of your career, a bit like myself, and you think about what other things in life you'd like to do upon retirement, it forms an ideal foundation for other disciplines and other very task-oriented discipline professions. There are, of course, the threats and global instability leading to increasing uncertainty. Without any doubt, we have to deal with these major events in the world at a greater cadence than we used to have to. Greater automation may lead to pilot skills atrophying, and dare I say it, sometimes boredom. And I think the time will come where we will see single pilot crewing, which inevitably will equal a reduced demand for pilots. I doubt very much within my lifetime we will see zero pilot crewing. But it's very interesting. If you go into the high streets and ask how many pilots sit at the front of an airliner, very often nobody can tell you. So I think inevitably we are likely to see that happening as time goes by. Okay, so let me have a look a little more seriously at KB's planning brief, and let's try and address the 3 equally balanced customer groups. What I'm going to try and do is give you some key takeaways and clear some myths. As KB mentioned earlier, I am very customer oriented. I believe that there are customer groups to which we need to pay equal attention. Now, because I'm not using any slides, and normally I do, I created a training aid. So there we are. Look, this is about as high tech as it gets. What do I say about technology? Now, in my instructor course, they said, oh, make it simple. That's pretty simple, isn't it? Good use of colour. What do you think about good use of colour? So my board work probably...
Yeah, I'm going to give you some points for that.
Yeah, not bad, is it? Yeah. So that's my training aid. So we've got 3 groups, customer groups: the airline, the aspiring pilot, and the sponsor. And I'm just going to scamper through each of those groups and just give you a perspective on them. So there we are. Can I put my training aid back? You got that? Yeah, good. There we are. So I can't talk and hold at the same time. Okay, so let's talk about the airlines. Now, I'm very lucky, as I say, to have joined the industry around about 1996, which was pre-9/11. Now, there was something amazing about that time, and that is the airlines coughed up for everything and trained their pilots through sponsorship programs. And that, without doubt, yielded some excellent pilots. And of course, many of those pilots today now sit within our airlines, having been trained brilliantly, and provide the foundations upon which the standard of training in this country is held in such high esteem. 9/11 came along, and I was flying that day, and I knew that the world would change that day. And one thing that's happened 20 years ago nearly now is the days of sponsored, funded airline training has stopped. And I really must emphasize this, is it has stopped, and it's highly unlikely to return. There may be the odd airline who feels in a benevolent mood to help, and I'm sure Oscar at FTE, who I think probably has all of them, does really well with that. But nonetheless, there are very few of these airline sponsor programs now around. Tagging is at best the way forward for 99% of training, and I think that's the way we will see it once recovery happens. It's really important, though, to think about an airline perspective, and I talked about planning, is their demand model is constantly rests on a commercial knife edge. And that's why we always need to be prepared, because it can disappear as fast as it's created. The guys within airlines work exceptionally hard to keep the things going, but that's inextricably linked, that's the right word, I think, yes, linked to pilot need as well. If you're asking me for a view how the airlines are likely to respond now to the current situation with COVID, I'll give you a personal prediction, is I think we will start to see some shift in recruitment about a year from now. Some may be earlier, and that may be due to having a pre-planned fleet expansion plan, Ryanair and the Boeing MAX being a really good example. So we may see them coming to the party sooner. We may see some airlines being longer than a year, but on average, probably we are looking at a fairly challenging period for a while yet. But as you will hear from many people from the ATOs, get ahead of the game. Look where your horizon is. If your horizon is 2 years out, then that's what you're planning towards. If your planner is closer to, don't get caught out because it might come back sooner. So make sure you're always ready to go in our profession. The third group, the aspirant pilot. So I said earlier, do your SWOT, make sure you do your SWOT, but even more importantly, do your research. Research by every means possible. There is absolutely no excuse for making uninformed decisions. All the information's out there, all the forums are out there, everything you could possibly want is out there for you to make informed choice. So make sure you do it. Secondly, aspirant pilot, get assessed. It is absolute insanity to spend up to and more than £100,000 on your chosen profession for the sake of £200 to make sure that you are suitable for it in the first place. So make sure you get assessed. Thirdly, be realistic. And often people do financial comparisons, and this is how I portray it. Okay, you need £100,000. Okay, now some will say, no, you don't, you need 60, some will say, no, you do, 120. But what I'm saying is you need to be realistic about what this is going to cost you from scratch. And it can be a blend of training costs and opportunity costs. And that all depends upon when you target finishing. So it's not just about the sheer cash that you put into the training. It's about all the other associated costs and periods of downtime when you're not working, not earning income. So my rule of thumb is calibrate your head to about £100,000 and you won't go far wrong. Timing, 2 years minimum. Very, very unlikely to be able to achieve the required standards to get a good job with an airline in less than 2 years. And that includes, as an absolute minimum, a 6-month standard wait time once you finish your training before progressing on to employment. So I always say to anybody, sometimes we do it in 6 days. The longest I've ever known people waiting is 18 months. Calibrate your head to around 6 months standard and you won't go far wrong. Clearly at the moment it's going to be longer, but by and large that's a standard rule of thumb. And it's okay to take over 3 years at it. Some people seem to be obsessed by this idea, oh, if I don't do it in 3 years, it's all going to be a total disaster. No, it won't. But do it at a pace that works for you and set your mind in the correct mode of £100,000, 2 years minimum, 6 months wait for a job, and it's great. Third group, the sponsor. That could be the bank, mum, dad, brother, sister, granddad, husband, wife, you name it. So many people sponsor and support aspiring pilots, and dare I say it, cross-subsidise the airline industry in order for people to become an airline pilot. Just want to talk very briefly about demand, and as you speak with the various ATOs, they will quote the Boeing Airbus data ad nausea. So you will hear, you see those slides, they're all over the world. You know, people, I think, decoupage in the toilet with the Boeing and Airbus data. It's true, no doubt. But I counsel you also to look at the retirements. The baby boomers, people who were flying airliners in the 50s, were born in the 50s and 60s, flying through the golden age. It's a cast iron certainty that over the next 10 years, 250,000 of those pilots will fall off the edge, metaphorically, and this demand alone will, without doubt, fuel the training industry sufficiently. So all the data from all the manufacturers are absolutely fantastic, but one thing is for certain, pilots continue to age whether they like it or not. My next bit of advice for the sponsor, caveat emptor, buyer beware. Control the controllables. So whenever you are looking to support your aspirant pilot, and if it's funding or whatever form, where you can, stay in control of the timing and stay in control of the cash flow, because it really is caveat emptor wherever you go. Thirdly, there's no halfway house in pilot training. If you're supporting someone, sponsoring something, make sure they are 100% committed, they get assessed, or don't back it. You cannot go into pilot training half-heartedly. You have to be 100%. Relationships. And for those of you who have enjoyed closer relationships or not, depending on how your COVID setup is, but be prepared for long periods of absence, focus, grumpiness, show tolerance, show support. And over the 25 years, and KB will know as well as I do, statistically, about 80% of trainee pilots find maintaining pre-training relationships really challenging. So everybody has to work at it.
Yeah.
And social life, significant sacrifices, but try and keep them balanced for your mental well-being. Training to be a pilot is super, but have fun on the way through. So in summary, okay? Think about an investment case. If you go a full-time course or a part-time course, think about the amount of money you're going to have to spend. And I have calculated that irrespective of the pathway that you choose, you can pay this back in around 5 years. And after that, it's all done and you have a good payback analysis on pilot training. So in summary, it's an amazing industry. Go in with your eyes open, get assessed, think long and hard before committing to anything. Don't do anything by halves. It's either all in or all out. And like the Scout motto, always be prepared, as anything can happen in this industry, and it will.
AP, thank you as ever. His words there, and something that we've all always said throughout the years is so important in this process when you're making your decisions about your career and your training route is that research. And these 2 days are a fantastic opportunity to do some of that research. It shouldn't be all of it, but it's a really good place, all one-stop shop, to get as much of that research done as possible. And those wise words are great. And obviously everybody can watch you and the other speakers back on demand after today, as it'll all be put up on our website for people to watch back afterwards. So if people have missed you, they don't have to have missed you altogether. Thank you very much, AP, for your time. We've had a few questions come through whilst you'll be talking, but we'll put those into the Q&A panel at the end of this session. And we'll close off now. So thanks very much, and we'll hand over to the team for the next session for the day. Thanks very much indeed.